In 1830, Mexico, having gained independence from Spain in 1821, after over a decade of revolution, faced significant internal turmoil. The new nation, spanning around 4.5 million square kilometers, lacked the funds and governance structure to maintain stability. Internal rebellions and the threat of Spanish invasion from Cuba further weakened Mexico. By 1846, when war with the United States broke out, the country was unprepared for international conflict. Meanwhile, the United States was expanding. It had purchased the Louisiana Territory from France and moved deeper into Native American lands. Mexico's internal strife led to regional uprisings, with Texas gaining independence in 1836. The U.S. initially declined Texas incorporation into the Union due to opposition from northern politicians wary of adding another slave state. However, after the 1844 election of President James K. Polk, who strongly supported expansion, annexation efforts accelerated. Texas officially joined the United States on December 29, 1845, becoming the 28th state, further straining relations with Mexico, which still considered Texas its territory. Polk also sought to acquire California and New Mexico. After Mexico rejected a purchase offer, he moved U.S. troops into the disputed area between the Rio Grande and Nueces River, prompting conflict. On April 25, 1846, Mexican cavalry attacked U.S. troops under General Zachary Taylor, killing about a dozen soldiers and besieging an American fort. Taylor countered with victories at Palo Alto and Resaca de la Palma. Polk then declared to Congress that Mexico had invaded our territory and shed American blood upon American soil. War was officially declared on May 13, 1846. The war's origins remain debated. Ulysses S. Grant, who opposed the war but served as an Army lieutenant under Taylor, later wrote that the U.S. Army deliberately provoked conflict. Mexico, weakened by internal revolts, struggled to respond effectively. Antonio López de Santa Anna, a controversial Mexican leader who had held power multiple times, played a pivotal role. Initially exiled in Cuba, he negotiated with both Mexico and the U.S., promising Mexico he would reclaim Texas while secretly dealing with the Americans to sell contested land. Allowed to return, Santa Anna took control of the army but then declared himself president and prepared to fight. U.S. forces swiftly advanced. General Stephen Watts Kearny occupied New Mexico without resistance in August 1846, establishing a civilian government under the Kearny Code. A brief rebellion, the Taos Revolt, was quickly suppressed. Meanwhile, U.S. naval forces under Commodore John D. Sloat and later Commodore Robert F. Stockton secured California. Captain John C. Fremont's volunteers assisted in this effort, and by August 1846, California was declared free from Mexican control. Colonel Stephen Kearny, after marching through New Mexico, faced resistance at the Battle of San Pascual in December 1846, but ultimately secured the region. The decisive Battle of Rio San Gabriel in January 1847 ended organized resistance in California. The war intensified as U.S. forces pushed deeper into Mexico. After victories at Palo Alto and Resaca de la Palma, Taylor's 2,300 troops crossed the Rio Grande and won the hard-fought Battle of Monterrey in September 1846. Mexican forces under General Pedro de Ampudia put up strong resistance, utilizing urban warfare tactics unfamiliar to American soldiers. Despite initial setbacks, Taylor negotiated an armistice, allowing the Mexican army to withdraw in exchange for surrendering the city. In February 1847, Santa Anna personally led 20,000 troops against Taylor's 4,600 at the Battle of Buena Vista. Despite superior numbers, the Mexican forces were repelled, suffering heavy losses. Some historians argue that Mexico could have won had Santa Anna continued his attack. A key U.S. strategy was naval dominance. The U.S. Navy blockaded Mexican ports, securing supply lines and limiting Mexico's ability to resist. Rather than reinforcing Taylor's army, Polk sent a second force under General Winfield Scott. In March 1847, Scott led the first major amphibious landing in U.S. history, capturing the key port of Veracruz after a siege. From there, he advanced toward Mexico City with 9,000 troops. Santa Anna attempted to block Scott at Cerro Gordo in April 1847, but was defeated. Guerrilla attacks harassed American forces, but Scott pressed on, winning battles at Contreras and Churubusco in August. Peace negotiations briefly stalled, leading to further clashes at Molino del Rey and Chapultepec. By mid-September, U.S. forces occupied Mexico City. Scott declared martial law, and his victories made him a national hero. Desertion plagued the Mexican army throughout the war. Many soldiers, poorly paid and equipped, had little allegiance to their commanders or the government. Harsh conditions, lack of supplies, and low morale further weakened their resolve. Some Mexican soldiers even defected to the opposing side, joining the U.S. Army. One notable group, the St. Patrick's Battalion, was composed mainly of Irish immigrants who sympathized with Catholic Mexico and opposed the Protestant-dominated U.S. forces. These soldiers fought fiercely for Mexico, and their legacy remains honored there today. The war's outcome reshaped the map of North America and altered the balance of power between nations. While some in the U.S. proposed annexing all of Mexico, concerns over governance, cultural differences, and potential resistance made full annexation unfeasible. Instead, after prolonged negotiations, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed in 1848, officially ending the war. As part of the agreement, Mexico ceded vast territories, including Texas, California, and New Mexico, to the United States in exchange for $15 million, equivalent to approximately $443 million today. These sparsely populated lands would later be divided into multiple U.S. states, including Arizona, Nevada, Utah, and parts of Colorado and Wyoming. Despite the treaty, border disputes and expansionist ambitions persisted. In 1854, the Gadsden Purchase further adjusted the U.S.-Mexico border, transferring an additional strip of land in present-day southern Arizona and southwestern New Mexico for $10 million. This acquisition was primarily motivated by U.S. interests in constructing a southern transcontinental railroad, solidifying the modern border between the two nations. The war significantly expanded U.S. territory, adding over 900,000 square miles and cementing the country's status as a continental power. However, the conflict left lasting tensions between the United States and Mexico. Many Mexicans viewed the war as an unjust aggression and the loss of their northern lands as a national tragedy. Meanwhile, in the U.S., the acquisition of new territories intensified debates over the expansion of slavery, contributing to the sectional divisions that would eventually lead to the Civil War.